Welcome to Distribution Talk with Jason Bader, the show where we dive into the stories, struggles, and solutions from business owners and thought leaders in the wholesale distribution market. Hey friends, Jason here. In this episode, I had the pleasure of speaking with Mason Greene, president of Hotel and Restaurant Supply based in Jackson, Mississippi. Mason is the third generation to lead his family business. These are challenging times for those in the restaurant and food service business. Rather than pull back, Mason has challenged his team to take this time to step up and get creative. Out of difficult circumstances, innovation can flourish. I enjoyed learning about Mason and his organization, and I hope you do too. This episode of Distribution Talk is sponsored by InSQL Distribution Software. InSQL is a fully functional distribution-based software package. I say distribution-based because that's important. Many alternatives out there say they do distribution, but they really aren't very good at it. They're generally watered-down manufacturing packages with a few distribution features tacked on. I only recommend software packages that were purpose-built to serve distribution, and these folks do it very well at a price point many smaller distributors can afford. If you're ready to step up to a fully loaded, scalable distribution package at an affordable price, look no further than InSQL Distribution Software at www.insql.com. That's INXSQL.com. All right, Mason. Well, hey, welcome to Distribution Talk. Hey, I'm really glad that you were able to take the time to come speak with me.
Yeah, thank you, Jason. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Well, as you mentioned earlier, you've had an opportunity to hear my show, and not even with any prompting. I didn't have to even beg and ask you to listen to an episode or two. So you know the format, and so.
Yeah, enjoy listening to podcasts. And while I was driving to visit other locations, I was like, I really want to just hear something more specific to distribution during this time. And just typed it in and heard of you and have enjoyed listening to some of the podcasts. So thanks for doing this again.
Well, great. Yeah, no, I'm, as I said, I'm thrilled that somebody found me organically, without any prompting. This is kind of a thrill for me. So, as you know, I'd kind of like to go back in your history and see how'd you get involved in distribution and the business? What drew you to stay in the business? I think that's the other question. A lot of us come in and we might do, summers and things like that, but why stay?
Yeah, that's a great question. I didn't really grow up spending much time in the business. I worked in it some, little odd jobs here and there growing up, but I would say I didn't know it real well. We sell food service equipment and supplies, and, I never would have thought about that industry otherwise, it being a family business. And my dad never pressured me really to get involved with a business or anything like that. Maybe after I finished college, I actually worked with a college ministry for a few years after that. And, we had talked about it some along the way, and it just kind of really hit me that I just really feel like I want to get involved with the family business. So I knew it was a decision that, you don't really make like, hey, I'm just going to go join the family business and try it out for a year or so. So it did seem like a big decision somewhat at the time, but it felt good. So, I did. And so thankful that's where I ended up. I've had a great experience with our company and within our industry. And I think to your point of what's probably kept me in it, and maybe it's the distribution industry as a whole, but certainly I feel like it's been in our space is still very relational, even from with our vendors, with our customers, and even with our other distributors. We see these people all the time, multiple times a year at conferences and things like that, and doing business together, and become your friends. And so I've really enjoyed the relational aspect of this business in our industry.
And remind me again, you're the third generation of the family to come in and work on the organization. So
yeah, my grandfather and a partner started our business back in 1953. And then I think my grandfather's partner died soon after that. And so it was just him. And then my dad has been in the business for over 50 years.
Gotcha.
And then I've been involved about 17, 18 years.
Time flies, doesn't it? I mean, all of a sudden you're like, you look back and you're like, man, I've been here a long time. You start, it's funny when you go to conferences, as you were saying, and early on, you're the youngest guy around, you're kind of the young guy. And then all of a sudden you're not the young guy anymore. There's a whole new crew of these people coming in. So Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny. So yeah, the relationship side of the business, I think that, that's one of the great things about distribution and, privately held distribution is that you do get a lot of interaction. And you were mentioning the going to meetings and associations, you've kind of build relationships outside of your company, with all these different organizations. Yeah, I think that again, in privately held entities, we tend to share a lot more and really kind of hope for the best of some of the people, that may not compete directly in our market space, but, we do hope for the best. So, yeah, tell me a little bit about your involvement. You became very involved actually in your trade association.
Yeah, to your point, I'm thankful that my dad brought me to meetings starting early on, and that was really so important in just my growth and learning about the industry. I really enjoyed those relationships, and as I got more involved in the business and doing more things, of course, you run into just wanting to find more information about things and how other people are doing things. So I always went to conferences with probably a few questions on my mind that I wanted to talk to people,
Mhm.
whether it's around how do you do your salesperson compensation or just a myriad of technology questions or whatever it may be, how people were doing things. So, always enjoyed doing that and just learning from the older folks that were there. And, at the time, I did feel like I was one of the only younger folks around when I started going. And I think maybe because of that, someone was like, well, let's get him involved. And so, been asked to be on the board of our association and kind of did that. And then at the time we had convention chairpersons that really helped structure our conference and pick out the theme and topics and kind of was asked to do that role, and that was fun and a good experience. And then the next step was, asked to be on the executive committee, rotation for us. It was a pretty good commitment at the time. I was single, and then as I just finished my role as chairman, I'm married with 3 kids. So,
Yeah, that says a lot of the length of service there. So
but yeah, definitely a phenomenal experience, and thankful to be able to serve in that way and grow in that way. So, yeah.
it's nice that, I think that that's something with that association, recognizing that they needed to bring younger people into it to get involved with not only the committee system, but, the executive level. I think I shared with you that, I did the same route, inside my association. And I was, president of that association. And gosh, when I was 32, 33, and I was the youngest ever. But that was something that, has now ushered in a lot of younger people that came into the association because, the last thing you want is somebody who's been 35, 40 years standing up and trying to introduce new ideas. And I mean, no disrespect, but let's get some new blood in here.
Yeah, it's great to look back now or see our association now and see the amount of young people that are involved. It kind of just seemed like it happened in a snap one day. Next thing you know, there's a lot of young people involved, and right now we have a very in the last couple of years a thriving young industry leaders part of our association that's grown. So that's been exciting to see that happen. Makes me feel good about the future of our industry. And
Yeah. It's a phenomenon that I didn't. So, again, when I was heavily involved in my trade association, we didn't have things like that. And it was very rare that any association had this emerging leaders or young leaders. But now, today, I'd say a vast majority of the associations that I work with do have that type of opportunity. And I think it's a great thing, reaching out and actively soliciting that involvement and really trying to get people to not only get involved, but to stay. I think that's the big one is how do we get people to stay in the industry and continue contributing?
yeah, and yeah, that's the case. And certainly with us as an organization and us personally, we have young leaders and we want to find ways to develop them, want to find ways for them to grow, want to find ways for them to feel connected to our industry. And so this provides a way for that as well. So, yeah, I think it's very important to keep investing in that area and the young industry leaders. And certainly, I think this time period is also the more, to come out of this time period, ready to keep growing and doing things different or adapting, whatever that may be. So,
Definitely, adaptation is, probably one of the big keywords here. I get tired of hearing the word unprecedented or,
pivot.
yeah, the new normal. All those expressions drive me crazy right now. I mean, I'm just like, okay,
Yeah.
somebody's gotten extraordinarily lazy with their verbiage, when they start talking like that. But I think though, again, with this emerging leaders programs and all these different things, I think I shared with you that one of my pet peeves or my challenges around distribution is that we have a PR problem, a recruiting problem, really, getting
Hmm.
people interested in these. And I feel like at least there's a good step, in, forming these emerging leaders programs that you can now start even reaching a little deeper, not necessarily people who are born into the business or however it is, but how do we attack or how do we reach the people in college or people who are recent, graduates or military coming out of military. How do we reach into that pool and say, hey, wait a minute, distribution is a great career, this is a great place to live.
Yeah, it's a great point. As I know we've had those conversations at our association and with our partner associations, whether it be our manufacturers and rep groups and service agents, all those things just all as a part of our channel. And when I really even think about it, because I thought about that a lot, as we look to hire new people or if someone's interested and we're talking to them about what it's like here, what their opportunity is. And man, when I stop and think about it, it's great. It's a great opportunity in the space we have. I know for our industry, like I've mentioned before, it's very relational with each other and our customers. I think of even just the diversity of people you're around and types of people just in our business. We do every function, from sales to warehousing to
Mm.
installation to design, just so many different aspects to what we do. So you're just around a diversity of people and skills. And I think that's great. And I think I'm sure again, it's the case for a lot of the distribution areas, but feel like ours is very, in the food service space, it gives back to the communities a lot. Obviously, we do that personally and our customers do that. So we join them
Hmm.
in those efforts
Hmm.
as well. So it's nice to feel like you're a part of helping your community and your customers. And I would say even now, especially for younger people getting involved with our business, they can truly make a big impact, because I think we're somewhat thought to be slower adapting technology or adopting technology or things like that. And so
Hmm.
a young person can really come in and make an impact, when they bring in those skills and ideas and help people along. So I could see where someone would really, enjoy having that kind of impact. And I guess I've just seen over the long run when somebody's really committed themselves to learn our products and our industry and grow, they've just been successful and become really invaluable to the organization and their customers. And so I feel like it's a great opportunity for someone to come into.
Yeah. I think what's also kind of telling, if you look at people who join this, the industry, whether, it's the food service side or any other vertical markets, in distribution is, there's kind of the age old story, hey, they were going to take a warehousing job during the summer just to kind of get by during college or something like that. And then distribution got its hooks in them and they never made it out. And all of a sudden, 20 years later, 30 years later, and they're like, hey, what'd you guys do to me? But I think that there is, something telling that I don't see people leave the industry. They may change shirts or they may, even change vertical markets. But when you get involved with the distribution industry, you tend to wind up staying in that industry somehow, whether it's, even coming over onto my side on the advisory side, or you move into the manufacturing side, or you move into somewhere in the supply chain. But once that supply is in your blood, you don't
Mhm.
really make it out. So this might,
Yeah.
again, that's part of that messaging to people in school that this can be a very long-term career for people.
Yeah. We've definitely seen exactly what you've shared in our industry. And I think that is good to share, that even within your vertical or channel, whatever it is, there's lots of different opportunities within that to move around, or maybe that fits your
Mhm.
personality or whatever it is a little better, your skill set. So yeah, certainly lots of different opportunities to grow and change and develop.
Yeah, I definitely I would agree. And again, it goes back to that, recruiting side. How do we reach in and touch? I know that there are some universities that tend to be more distribution focused, and I know you've got in the southeast. I think it's Eastern Carolina. I think is a distribution program, if I remember right. There's a couple other, obviously Texas A&M and Purdue are kind of the big ones that everybody talks about, but there are those programs, but I think it's incumbent upon, distributors like yourselves to really go in and tap those kids somehow, and I shouldn't say kids. Well, yeah, I'm old enough to say kids, I guess, but make sure that they know about you and what are the opportunities in your business.
Yeah, and I think that's we've done a little bit of that, and I think it's a even a bigger opportunity. One area we have are some of these culinary schools, whether it be in high
Oh,
school
yeah.
or
Yeah.
community college. We have a great community college network in our state I'm in, and to really reach out to them and see how we can partner with them and share more about our industry, especially because it's somewhat of a people think of food and cooking and in that somewhat a glamorous type feel, but don't think about all the nuts and bolts that go behind it.
Right.
And some of our best hires have been people we've hired from working in the restaurant industry or things like that know our products and can relate to our customers. So definitely good to reach those type of people. And I don't know, I know you didn't really ask the question, but it just keeps hitting me. And I'm sure this happens on your podcast all the time, but it truly is people is everything, about the business and what makes us successful and the key. Because, even thinking about, we just are going through our implementation of our new ERP system, and I just go, man, this would have been a complete disaster if we didn't have good people in place who have helped to do everything from evaluate where we needed to be to the whole process throughout testing and training and that to the implementation. And it just hit me again too, that this talking to some of our staff and talking about the things we wanted to do with this new technology moving forward and what it would allow us to ultimately keep doing, keep investing in. It's not investment in technology. It was a investment in our people, knowing we have good people and knowing we want to give them the tools to be successful in their jobs and don't want to be a hindrance to what our folks are doing. Cause they're the ones out acquiring the customers and the business and taking care of them. And it's a investment saying, we feel we have great people that are going to continue to do this and we want to give them everything they need to keep going. So we just opened up a new building here where I am, a new showroom, new test kitchen, things we're really excited about. But again, it goes back to having the people that have the relationships and the product knowledge and things like that. This is just a tool to help our team succeed. So
It's an interesting point you brought up, though, that really the technology, play is, yes, to improve the revenue flow and and improve processes and whatnot, but it's also a retention tool. It sounds like this is something that, I haven't really explored before, but, knowing a little bit about generational differences and knowing a little bit about, one of the I think it's a knock on the millennial generation, that they're job hoppers and not loyal and all this stuff. I always push back on that pretty heavily because I'm like, now, wait a minute. The reason that they might leave your company is not because they want to go try working somewhere else. It's because you failed to provide that next opportunity and provide that next area for growth. And to your point, that's really what you just invested in, is that ability for your team members to grow. And they don't have to leave your company to go, for that growth, that you're going to invest in the platform for them to do that.
Yeah, that's a great point because I see that here, and that's certainly at the heart of what we want to do as a company is develop people and watch people grow, and certainly those are important aspects in that, continuing to invest in your infrastructure, whether it's physical or technology-wise, all those things. You want to give your people the best opportunity to flourish and grow.
And with this ERP transition, you were mentioning earlier that e-commerce is a very big part of that. That's a big part of that. And that was part of, why you transitioned, why you decided to move to another entity. Were you all involved in the e-commerce world prior to this? Or is this going to be a brave new venture with you all?
Good question. We kind of hit the low hanging fruit earlier on. I have
Okay.
felt behind in this area that I wanted to be as a company, but we did implement a site and it had some great functionality. It was mainly geared towards our chain customers and providing custom catalogs for them to order and their pricing.
Okay.
But it also, all of our customers could get online and see our stock and see which locations had it in. We just didn't open it up for ordering for everybody at the time. And anyway, there's a lot into that. Part of it was an old pricing structure that we had. And,
Yeah.
there's a lot obviously that goes into allowing all your customers to order online. But the technology, the look and feel of it was old. And so we definitely wanted to invest in this area and a number of other areas we were looking at. So it brought up, hey, let's do a kind of an operations review and see where we are with our software. And as we did that, we really just came to the conclusion of if we're going to keep growing and doing new things, e-commerce included in a big part of it. For me, we need to make sure we're on a modern technological platform to continue to grow from, get that base in place that we can feel comfortable to continue to invest in. And customer facing technology was certainly on my mind is the goal of improving how we work with our customers. Of course, it is for internally as well. We want people to enjoy their work and have it easier and things like that. So we're definitely focused on that. But at the end of the day, we'll get it done. But we need our customers to have the best experience.
Now, I guess what percentage of your revenue is rolling through that e-commerce? Well, I guess better, what percentage do you envision? Because, previously it was really, just as you said, your chain customers and things like that. Do you envision this being a significant portion of your revenue rolling through that e-commerce platform?
I could definitely consider it growing quickly, and probably if I think about portions of our revenue, even certain segments. So we do a lot of large project work, design,
Right.
build work, things like that. That's the
Yeah.
core of our business. This wouldn't change it as much. But as far as our everyday kind of supplies, replacement business, and things like
Yeah.
that, I'm kind of surprised we've been able to hold on to that as much as we have, but because of the lack of where we are. And I think that says a lot about our people and our relationships with our
Hmm.
customers, that they can call, send me a case of my water glasses or whatever, continue to
Right.
make it easier. So this, I think, as we add on this more robust e-commerce site and really shoot for that omni-channel experience where all of our resources are working together to give that customer the best experience, and where they can order, get information whenever they want, and we support it, continue to support it how we have been, I think it'll grow. We'll probably get more business that we have probably already lost to online players,
Yeah.
it'll be a tool for our salespeople to go out and attract more business and be able to handle more business. I don't plan on setting it up to compete with our salespeople, but help their efforts.
No, absolutely. I mean, you definitely want that to be an integrated strategy rather than, as you said, a competitive strategy from one previous medium to another. But, so again, looking at your company, you said you've got a pretty significant portion that is really design, build, installation, more contractor type of revenue. And
Mm-hmm.
if I were to look at the two sides, really you've got a transactional supply side, and then you've got the design build, more contractor side. Without opening the kimono too far here, I would imagine that the construction side or the design build is probably the more profitable of the two.
Yeah, it depends on again the situation, but certainly when we can really be with that customer from start to finish, and help them design their project and consult with them, all the way to the end where we install it and make sure everything's running correctly and service them from the end. But there are projects where we do a lot of bid work where it's just say lowest price wins.
Right,
So
right.
that's a big portion too, but certainly we try to be a resource for our customers, and those are typically our better relationships.
Yeah, the reason I brought that up was just it seems to me that as you are able to add more and more technology to facilitate the transaction on the supply side, so that you possibly could reallocate resources, and I'm thinking more human resources and in time and energy into what could be potentially the more profitable side of a distribution business, with that install, design, that type of work. So I think that, there's a
Yeah.
way to think about that you are
Hmm.
driving down the transactional cost on your side, on the supply side, and maybe reallocating resources over to what could be potentially, your greater growth area.
That's a great point, and certainly would hope it would free our people up to do more consultative work. They're not
Yeah.
handling as many just little details, but can and truly see and ask what their customers' needs are and be a resource for them and show them new products, all those type things. So, yeah, that's a great point, and hope that does happen.
Well, yeah, and I think it's something just to kind of at least as you're going into this ERP project is to talk about that actively, is that there will become more more opportunities for people to be more consultative, as you said, and really drive service. And service is what drives margin. That's the way it is in distribution. It's just the more we serve, the better off we can be from a profitability standpoint. Yeah, and I think that it could be a very nice byproduct of the path that you're going down.
Definitely.
One thing I did want to ask though, you said that again in your current e-commerce strategy that it's really been more current customers. Are you planning to open this bad boy up to the unwashed masses, anyone with a credit card? I mean, is that the goal, at least on the supply side? Is that really the end game, or are you maybe not so sure?
Yeah, I guess short answer is yes. I think it'll be a phased approach. Definitely, we'll start by making sure our chain customers are taken care of, and then extending out to our current customers and making
Mhm.
sure we're connecting well with them in that regard. And right now the focus is on our stock products, and so as we build the resources, the team members that can support this growth, and certainly the plan would be to expand the products we offer online as well as our customer base in that regard. But feel like we'll need to bring on the talent, the right people to
Yeah.
continue to grow that. So that's an interesting. This is not an area that we're typically have looked for people in, so we're not as connected to that, I guess. And so that's an important part. I think, again, like I said, goes back to people. So I really am
Mhm.
excited about the opportunity of finding a good team that can help us grow in this area. And I think it'll be a great opportunity for someone to come into our business and really make a difference, kind of like you were
Yeah.
saying.
No, it's going to provide a lot of opportunities, and I think moving into these different platforms and trying these different strategies, this is actually what kind of makes it interesting because if it's just a transactional business, you buy some stuff, you put it on a shelf, and then you hopefully somebody will take it off that shelf. It's a pretty dull business at that point. So this is really what, makes it interesting is to really try to say, we're going to explore this different direction. We haven't played and we don't have a whole lot of experience in, and we better acquire some talent or we're gonna be in some trouble. But
Yeah, it will be fun. I'm looking forward to it as well, to get that talent in and that skill set in, and to see how they'll affect other areas of our business. Because I certainly
Mhm.
know, even on our design side, our project management, all those things, we want to continue to improve our processes and things there through technology and offering different things to our customers. And I really feel like just as we bring that type of skill set and talent onto our team, we'll identify other ways we can bring value to our customers in all the ways that we do business with them in our showrooms, online, and through our project work.
Yeah. So speaking of showrooms, I mean, I would imagine that a pretty good size percentage of your business actually walks in, and actually physically wants to see, touch, and feel, and does transactional business in these retail environments. I'm going to say, is that a fair statement?
We do have some of our showrooms do a lot of business, and we customers like to come in and touch and feel and see and experience things, and just have relationships with our salespeople, that type thing. So we've definitely found them very valuable. And when someone's working on a new project, a new restaurant or new food service operation, to be able to come in and look around and pick out the items they need is invaluable to what we do overall. We have certain locations that aren't as strong showroom wise, whether it be their location or just the mix of business at that
Hmm.
branch is different for all our companies. Each has a different niche depending on,
Yeah,
again,
sure.
the people and the relationships and all that. So that's always interesting. Just all the different aspects of what we do in managing that. But overall, we want to grow in that area as well, our showroom retail business.
Yeah, it's an interesting business. Now, I will say though that in the current climate, that isn't that easy. You've got a lot of restrictions of having people come in the showrooms. Has that been a pretty difficult period for you all to go through?
It's interesting that you say that because we did just move into a new facility where I am, and we put a lot of effort into our new showroom and made it look really nice new test kitchen, and a lot of custom built shelving for the display china and glass for our customers. And we were putting together our grand opening kind of solutions showcase and all these things. And first we were wanting to do a clearance sale at our old location, move out the old, and then kick
Sure.
off with the new. And it literally was the week that everything kind of broke. We were supposed to
Yeah.
have our clearance sale, to where I think it was like on a Friday. I'd call with our folks, and we wanted to make sure that we need to cancel this, or how are you all feeling? And they were kind of like, well, we've put all this work into it. We want to go ahead and do it. And at the time, it wasn't really, I don't know, hadn't hit our area yet. But literally over the weekend, I think it was just became so clear we needed to cancel this, and that's when everything
Mhm.
changed. So we're still in a holding pattern as far as really doing a grand opening and that type thing at our new facility. We do have customers that are coming in now our people are wearing masks, all those type things, taking all the safety
Right.
precautions. And typically don't have a lot of people in at one time. So it feels very safe. And earlier in the pandemic, especially, we had customers that were coming. We were doing curbside deliveries and all that. I mean, we deliver to our customers already, but if they wanted to come out, we would bring it out to them, those type things. So
Mhm.
kind of done all over the board.
And do you have, yeah, we'll call people coming to the stores as well, to pick up orders and things like that?
Yeah. Yep. We do.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know a lot of other verticals that I work with, they've had to come up with interesting solutions because they've been heavy will call types of environments. And obviously, curbside pickup, that's kind of a big thing. But in order to do that, they really had to up their technology game from sometimes you'd have text based solutions and, your order's ready and things like,
Mhm.
you go to Chipotle and they tell you, hey, your order's ready, come pick it up off the shelf. And as distributors, you had to do that very, very quickly, find those solutions really quickly and find ways to take care of people in a manner that is safe and they will continue frequenting your place.
Yeah, I know. Again, going back to timing of our kind of transition and plans is, good and bad. Well, I wish we'd had it already all in place, especially our e-commerce solution. I'm sure we missed out on some there not being fully ready, but thankful we're, it's been a long process for us and we're getting closer. So I'll feel a lot better once we kind of have that in place and feel like we can, offer our customers what they deserve really, and
Mhm.
help our team and our business as well. So definitely looking forward to getting that up and running and continuing to improve it and add functionality as you mentioned as we need to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously you've seen some strange, some different protocols, in the last 6 months of ways that you interact with customers. Do you see any of these sticking? I mean, any of these like, hey, man, that wasn't a bad idea. Maybe we should just continue this forever, even if we are allowed to return to some, semblance of normal.
Yeah, that's a good question. Certainly, as everyone knows, has been on a number of Zoom calls or go-to meeting calls more so than ever. Definitely plenty that have done it for the first time during this time and feeling more comfortable with that. So I think that'll, I think still people want the personal interaction. And I think we, again, saw that recently when we were having our industry conference. We had postponed it, and then a
Yeah.
few weeks ago, and we decided to do it virtually. Yeah, it was a great experience, and I think it went pretty well overall. But I know there's still a sense where people just like being together and talking. So I think it'll definitely be a mix. And certainly one of the pluses for me for all this is it's been a respite from all the travel to all these meetings and doing some of them virtually. So I wouldn't be upset if there was a little bit of it done virtually and then still doing the physical as well. So
Yeah, I mean, as much as it cuts my revenue, by the throat, I don't miss getting on planes. It's like, look, I haven't been on a plane since March, and I'm like, yeah, it's not bad. I kind of like being home, and I can do a lot of work this way, virtually. But you're right, it isn't the same. The experience is not the same as face to face. I mean, there's always, I think, a different type of connection when you have that ability to see each other face to face and talk face to face. But until then, we just kind of plod along here and do the best that that we can, and we adapt. And I think you mentioned that earlier, that adaptation is going to be a very big part of our world going forward. And I think we had to break out our adaptation skills. And maybe that's going to give us greater innovation inside the companies because we've exercised some different muscles now for a while.
yeah, yeah, there's no doubt that, that without something like this happening, you just wouldn't try things, or be forced to do things differently or look at things differently. So I certainly think things like this pandemic and other things that may happen typically end up being good for a business. Gosh, now I don't know why it just hit me, ran me back to where we had a huge fire back in 2005, six, destroyed
Hmm.
one of our buildings, our main corporate headquarters. And through that was a terrible time. But out of it, we moved into a new building that we probably never would have taken the time to do type thing, but always wanted
Sure,
to do
sure.
it. And it was a great blessing for our company in the long run. So certainly have to look at the bright side of anything that comes our way and, be open to trying new things and do what we can.
Yeah, I interviewed a gentleman. It's been, gosh, several months ago, but he threw out the quote, "A crisis is a terrible thing to waste." And I thought, oh, Well, that's an interesting way of looking at it. Okay. All right. Fair enough. But I think, to his point that, and to your point, that it can be a catalyst for innovation. So I guess I'm encouraged that through this crisis period that, people are going to be getting very smart and they're going to be, getting creative again, rather than getting complacent. The creativity is going to start again. And so I think you're going to see some interesting things. It sounds like you all are, diving in and providing really just the tools and the platform for that creativity. And now it's handing that opportunity over to those new people, these people that you have in your organization that can now, exercise their own creativity.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I certainly hope we continue to foster that moving forward. And
Yeah.
interesting that you say that as well. I was having a conversation. We kind of had a somewhat of a reset, relaunch meeting here at our branch lately, and brought all our people in together real briefly for a message, obviously with coronavirus, and then they had meetings with their departments later on. But I was talking about that, and I was with close friend of mine that does a leader in our branch here in business development. And he was telling me about an interaction he had with my father a few years ago. And he told me how impactful the words that my father had left with him were. And what my father had left him with was simply, "We're counting on you." And we really just started thinking about that and taking that apart. We are counting on you. And that was the message we really delivered to our team. We as a company, as all members of this team, are counting on one another to do our roles, whatever it is. It's meaningful, it's significant. It's important that we continue to grow and improve and try new things. And so I hope our team as well is just excited about that. And even from our customer standpoint, I hear our customers saying, "We're counting on you to bring us the products, the services, the expertise, the solutions, and to make our lives easier," as well as our vendors, our suppliers, our reps. They're counting on us to introduce and sell their products, to keep their manufacturing facilities going and all those things. So it was good and I think just an apt message for this time to share with our team, with each other, that, hey, we're counting on you to just continue to grow.
So before I let you go, one of the things, I guess I always like to pull out of, especially, next generation leaders is, what advice would you give, those families that are going through this, a transition, or they're going to be going through transition, or maybe even a first generation person hoping to bring their children into the organization? What kind of advice would you give to maybe smooth that out a little bit?
That's a great question. And when I do think about it often, because I think it has been a big thing for me. And overall, I feel like I've had a great experience through that. Again, part of it's probably personality things, but everything from my dad, when I first got involved with the business, he put me at another location away from him. So he thought that would be better for me to grow and do my own thing in that way. And looking back, I think that was a good decision. And of course, obviously, I started off getting involved with all aspects of the business and spent time in those before, really getting bogged down. He never really gave me a lot of direction and all of that. It's kind of like, there you go. And part of that was good because it did allow me just to get involved with areas that I don't know that I saw I could work on, that type thing. But at the same time, there's probably some direction is good as well along the way in the family setting. I think that as time went on and as we started getting into kind of transition phase, I don't know, we might have gotten stuck a little bit in that, trying to figure out how to do it, what to do, those type things. And so I think one of the best things we did was get some help, talking to a consultant or someone that can just help walk through the process and help you just talk through that scenario. I think that was invaluable at the time to give us the confidence to move forward and look out for some of those pitfalls. A lot of times we feel like we can figure it out ourselves all the time and do that. And I still fall in that boat, but it's amazing sometimes when you just reach out to someone like yourself. I know you do a lot of that for distributors. And so I think that's a very wise thing to do in the process.
Yeah, no doubt you can figure it out yourself, but it's awful nice to take a shortcut every once in a while. So.
Yes.
And so, well, Mason, hey, thank you so much for taking the time with me. I really appreciate getting a chance to learn a little bit about your business and about you as well. So, hey, if there's anything I can ever do for you, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Definitely. Yeah, enjoyed the conversation. And I know we'll be seeing and talking to you soon, and appreciate all you do for our industry as a whole.
Thank you for listening. If you liked what you heard, consider hitting that subscribe button. Links to sponsors, products, and services mentioned during this episode can be found in the show description area on your podcast application or at www.distributiontalk.com. Distribution Talk is edited and mixed by Andrea Klunder and Edwin Ruiz at the Creative Imposter Studios. This episode was brought to you by my company, The Distribution Team. We are a consulting services firm dedicated to helping wholesale distribution clients remove barriers to profitability, generate wealth, and achieve personal goals. To learn more about how we can help your company succeed, check us out at www.thedistributionteam.com.